Empower your leadership journey with the CEO Series. Whether you're at the gym, strolling, or commuting, our impactful dialogues with world-class leaders are just a click away. Immerse yourself in the minds of visionaries shaping today's most influential companies and innovations. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership. Don't miss out. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms.
Good morning, good evening, depending upon what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, you know it is the CEO Series, where we bring together the most inspiring leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators from across the globe to share their insight. Today, our guest is Sam Baisla, who's a serial entrepreneur, marketer, and early-stage investor. In his 20 years career, he has built multiple businesses in global markets, hired and built 10,000 plus teams, trained hundreds of thousands of professionals. His company, Samosa, helps startups and modern age businesses in branding, marketing, automation, lead generation, sales growth. He has founded and invested in over 10 plus ventures in technology, education, social impact, and various other fields. And with that, Sam, how are you?
You got the name correct, and that was impressive. I worked with Americans, Europeans for a very long time, and Indian names are complicated, to be very honest. The company name, my personal name, the surname. I'm honored. I have been following your work for some time, and you are doing a great work. Looking forward to it.
I'm a fan of yours as well. I've been following your posts. I love your insights. So it's kind of a mutual fan society. So let's start and talk about you're a serial entrepreneur. You've been doing this over 20 years. Walk us through that journey and how all of this started from university. A quick synopsis.
It's a kind of an interesting story. There are two ways that I share this with everyone, and especially the young entrepreneurs. The pivotal moment was definitely in 2011 when I quit my job and I started the journey, and I've never gone back since then. So 2011 till today, it's been almost 12 years now. I've been an entrepreneur on my own. But even when I trace the roots back to my school days, I was 17 years old at that point of time. Computer education was a very new thing, and we were in schools, and three of the friends, we got together and we decided to learn computers. There were these small computer training institutions that they were opening up. So we signed up for a 6-month course. We learned a bunch of stuff. MS-DOS, people don't even know that it exists now. And then learning how to type on the computer. 6 months down the line, we completed the course. Three of the friends, so we got together and we decided to buy the training center and run it for almost 2 years. We cleaned the floor ourselves. We fixed the wires ourselves. We did everything. And that was our pocket money, in fact. We got it from our parents. Obviously, we could not run that. And then that is one thing. And then after, like every 3 or 4 years, I have been getting into these small ventures. When I was doing a job, I would take up a small assignment sidewise, wanting to go back, but obviously kept failing at everything. I was very new. I was dumb, to be specific. And that's how it has been. But largely what I say, 20 plus years is a long time to do something, learn. And I have worked with almost everybody, like all the nationalities across the globe. And that's been a fantastic journey overall, if I sum it up in that way.
Wow. How did you come to that epiphany to say, you know what, let's buy this company? Because I mean, we all have instances where we're working for someone or we're experiencing something, but it came up to say, I want to buy this company. Did you see something beyond just offering this training?
That decision, when we were in still school, we were 16 years old kids. The reason back then was different from the reasons that I now use when I go into the entrepreneurship, obviously. That was just that we could do a better job than these teachers. That was the kind of thing that motivated us.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's we teach better than our teacher. We are better managers than this manager, and if we just take it, we know there are a bunch of kids out there like us who would want to learn computers, and we could do it better. Obviously, we were wrong, right? We could not get the enough students. The reason that I now go or see when I want to get into a company that, okay, I want to take this over, I want to do it, is much more larger. There are three questions I specifically ask for myself when I take that decision. First and the most important thing is that is it something that I'm curious about? Is it something that I'm passionate about? So if it is not something that I like to know more about, I would not be able to spend more time on that. People call it passion, but I avoid the word passion. In my opinion, passion keeps on changing. Curiosity is something which keeps you at it. And the world is changing very, very fast. And if you are not learning very quickly the new stuff, the new knowledge about the market trends and everything, you will fail at it. And no matter what it is. The large companies also need to learn that. And the only way you can learn or continuously keep on learning about something if you're curious about something.
Curiosity.
So that is like one question that I really, really ask myself. And that's how I keep on jumping from one industry to another one. The second is, of course, what is the core skills that I have? If there's something that I can bring to the table, if I can add value to the company, make it better, or 10x or whatever number. And if for example, so if I ask myself a question, I'm good at sales and communication and marketing. That's what I've been doing for almost all my career. And if there is a company, the team has a good product, and if I come on board, if I take the company or I join the board, or I would be able to do a better go-to-market work for that product. I can take it out to the market, make sure it reaches to the world, and I can do a branding around it. I can do sales around it. That's a second kind of question that I ask. If I don't have a value that I can add to the company or the idea, it doesn't make any sense for me to come on board.
Okay.
And third, of course, is that combining my skill and expertise and taking that area in the area that I'm working, if we can make a significant change in the market, in the people's life. If it does not change anything, I don't want to do that business. I don't want to pick up the names here, but there are certain kind of businesses that people are running. I see all across the world, and it's just running after valuations. I do not think they are adding any value to the world. They're not making the world a better place. Okay. And I would rather not be doing that kind of business.
Okay. Okay, cool. So one of the anchors in that is what is the impact beyond just revenue and making that, but I'm making a difference in society?
Absolutely, yes. Henry Ford said very famously once, I think it was Henry Ford only, that if a business only makes money, it's not a business. It has to make something more than money. And the another thing is that it has to outlast you. If the business doesn't have a potential to outlast you as a human being, you should rather not do that. These are like two core principles that I predicate upon my decisions around the businesses.
So when you're looking at, so how does it work? Someone comes to you with an idea, or they have an idea and they're struggling with that, or do you see something? How does Sam's radar pick up an opportunity?
It's both ways. There's a list of ideas in the businesses I have in my notebook that I want to execute upon, and I keep on working on those ideas. And sometimes I look for people who can come to the team and add value. The another way, which happens very often nowadays, especially when I have a decent amount of connections and network on LinkedIn and other social media platforms also, when people reach out to me. So there are a lot of young entrepreneur startup guys over there who are good at product, and they build a good product. And then they need some help and advice in fine-tuning that product to prepare it to go to market and scale it or expand it to the different markets. And also they need some kind of funding advice. Maybe they want me to come on board and do some funding, or maybe help them to raise the funding for the next rounds.
Okay.
But this second way of businesses I pick up, I generally be very conscious, because there are a lot of messages that keep on coming, at least like 50, 60 every month. And I try to listen to all the pitches, but I'm now with enough gray hair in my beard, with enough experience, I'm able to reject most of them even without getting. Yeah, you know this, right? You learn over a period of time, and you can simply say just by looking at it for 5 seconds, and like, no, this is not something that I would want to get involved with. The businesses that I do end up listening to, I ask them to send a pitch deck. We talk, we discuss. I do a little bit of more research on my own. And then we come to an arrangement that, okay, this is how I'm going to work. But I try to restrict myself onto the roles that I'm good at, and I can add value to the team, which is generally onto the go-to-market strategy, sales, expansion, fundraising. That's it.
Okay. So you look for the addition that I can bring to max this out. So that, because one of the things I've always said, everybody you talk to has an idea. Everybody you talk to has an idea that's going to break it open and they're going to do all these things. But my thought is always, if I see you 6 months from now and I say, so what's happening with that? And you're still giving me the same verbiage you gave me before, you're not serious about it. That's my take.
Absolutely. I agree with that. The difference between a leader, an entrepreneur, and a wannabe an entrepreneur, right? There are wannapreneurs and there are entrepreneurs. That the entrepreneurs don't sit on their idea. Of course, to execute it, execution is the key difference. But to execute it, you need a lot of moving parts. You need great team, funding, execution, the ability to learn, pivot, and everything. But in order to get all of those things, you got to be a leader yourself. You got to be a resourceful person. I think I read somewhere which says that the problem that you have is not lack of resources. It is lack of resourcefulness. Now, the resourcefulness is an ability using which you can get and find out resources. And we have every resource available on the internet. You can find people who are willing to work on your team.
Yeah.
You can find coaches, mentors, the people who are willing to invest. Everything is available. It's just that have to have that ability to the skill to go out in the market and find things. And if you're not moving in that direction, probably don't have it in you.
What do you find is the most common challenge, for entrepreneurs? We talked about the people that have the big ideas. They want to do this. Some move forward, some don't. What do you see? Do you see a kind of a common theme for would-be aspiring entrepreneurs?
Yes, the early stage entrepreneurship, I have worked with a lot of people. I personally have done it myself. And the most important thing that I've found out with them is that they start creating this bubble kind of thing around their heads, and they start living in their own castle. Okay. What it means is that the basic reason you become an entrepreneur is because you have an idea and you fall in love with that idea, right? That's the only reason you are an entrepreneur, right? Yeah. And you are passionately in love with that. You really, really believe in it. You think about it. You sleep with it. You eat with it. And that's a kind of strong attachment and desire that you have. But when it comes to execute and take that idea to the market, you have to stop living in your own castle, your own world. You have to go to the market and listen to the potential customers. Yeah. And when people are telling you something about it, you need to listen to them with an intent that, okay, I'll take that with an open mind. I'll come back to my drawing board. I'll try to make adjustment to my business plan, the target audience, maybe the problem I'm trying to solve, maybe the scale that I'm working upon, maybe the speed that I'm working upon, and improve your whole business idea. What I've seen young entrepreneurs and early stage entrepreneurs doing very often is that they are not able to open up their mind to that outside world telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll add a statement from Steve Jobs on this, that about market research. Somebody said, and he said, look, don't ask customers, they don't know anything. And some of the young entrepreneurs take that literally. And yet he was a guy who also said that you have to figure out how do you provide the best value to your customers, and then reverse engineer, go to the technology team and find out a technology to deliver it. Yeah. He's also saying that, okay, it starts from the customers, not from you as a product guy or as an engineer guy. And that's something that I have seen very, very important, unfortunately missing a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I call it tunnel vision, because all they're seeing is the end result, and they're zoned in on that, which is good to have that focus, but they don't want anything that's going to come in and disrupt that train of thought. Do you find that?
Yes, and I think it's ironical also, if you look at it. The only reason you will ever become an entrepreneur because to have that insane amount of passion for what you're trying to build. If you don't have that, you will never have a business at all in the first place. But then there is a stage wherein you have to let go of that and put up a different kind of hat, which is then listening to people around you, and especially the potential customers, because they are the ones who are end of the day are going to pay for it. I've also seen a lot of times what happens is that you come up with this idea with your product, and you go to the market and customers keep on telling you something. If you're not focusing and listening to them, you miss out very obvious signs. And sometimes the things that are people telling is a very different product of your business idea, which you might not be thinking in the first place. But if you pay focus, then you just kind of narrow down on that and optimize your entire business idea onto that feature. It becomes a completely different and very successful story also. So yeah, that's a kind of thing it is.
Yeah, it's. I look at it as I hear you talk, and being an entrepreneur myself, you try, you come back. I always call it the 3 Ws: what worked, what didn't work, what can I do differently next time? And you can really learn from that, which is reflection. But I find when I talk to people and they're doing things, they don't spend the time to try and reflect. And I said, have you done it? No, because I know my focus sometimes. I don't know whether it's a hard-headedness. My father would always say, you got a hard head, that you're not listening to people, and you're not listening to your network of people or whatever.
I would like to suggest that, okay, don't want to be harsh on young entrepreneurs here. I'd say keep that if you like that, because it's not that you have to listen to everyone around you, but the potential customers, they are absolutely the ones that you got to listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, ignore a dude like me. I may not be from your industry. I may not have a skin in the game, and I can be just like passing a comment on you just like that. Ignore. That's okay. Ignore your mom, your dad if you want to. Ignore the potential investor also. There are so many people who pretend to be. But do not ignore your customers. They're the one who are going to open up their wallets and decide whether you're a failure or a success at the end of the day.
Yeah. So give us an example of a startup that you worked with and that you're very, very proud of because everything kind of clicked. You don't need to name the brand if you don't want to. Give us a story around that.
I lost half of your question. Can you repeat that once again for me, please?
So what I was asking is, give an example of a startup that someone has come to you and you were interested in what they were doing and you were able to guide them along. And let's say in the end, it was a success story.
Oh, yes. In fact, there is a company and they're building a fintech product out of India here. And what they were doing is that India has a huge number of young people.
Yes.
And we have about 500, million people who are just added to the internet, and they're coming from the tier 2, tier 3 cities. Not very great infrastructure, not very great education background, but they are young and they got this mobile phone and internet in their hand, and also they're hungry to make quick bucks and to become rich. So India's financial markets are opening up, and there are a lot of startups that we have who are now allowing the young people to get their hands dirty with financial markets and capital markets and trading and investment, that kind of stuff. So there are startups, and one startup I particularly remember here is that they were trying to build this with a gamification in it. So you have this application, you can go and you get this simulation wherein there is some amount, you play with it and everything. But they were not able to crack that young person's mindset. Okay. They thought initially, when we were talking initially, that, okay, it is very obvious that people need to come and do a trading and they'll make money on it. And what my insights have been working with young people is that, okay, more than that, because that's a long-term goal and the process is boring. You have to keep on investing, and then after a very, very long time, you'll make money. Young people by nature are impatient, and you got to be working with them so that it gives them something very, very quickly as a reward. Now, it may not be an actual reward, but you have to have some games around it, which allows them to compete with each other, and it allows them to have some rewards from some e-commerce sites or something, so that they can keep coming back to it. I'm glad that they worked on that idea. They were able to raise the next round of funding. Last time I checked, the company was valued about $15 million. Really? And that's good progress they're making.
Yeah. From that idea. That's amazing, because I love to hear those stories, and I love to see so many young people today. They may try the corporate path, but they're doing that as out of necessity, but their vision is someplace else. So I'll do this, and then I'm going to go to this.
Mm-hmm. True. Uh, I think it was Guy Kawasaki who said this, that don't try to change the world in the beginning. If you look at the great companies that we have today, all of them were started as a necessity.
Yep.
There were a bunch of people who were trying to solve a problem that they themselves face. You pick up Apple, you pick up Google, you pick up every other company that we have, even Facebook for that matter. What happened later on is something that became a story. And when young entrepreneurs try to learn from these guys, they read the books and the stories in the newspapers today, in the internet also. The story kind of tells you Mark Zuckerberg of 35 years of age.
Yeah.
Right? I'm 17 at the moment. I need to know what Mark thought and did when he was 17.
Yeah.
And that is a story which rarely gets published, or at least I've really seen people trying to actually specifically dig in the story of how this guy was thinking when he was 17. I'll give an example of Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk did not start SpaceX or Tesla right like that. He went to the States and he asked a simple question that, okay, what is happening around the world? What is the growing market or the industry? He found internet as one of the things. Then he asked himself a question, what I'm good at. He found that, okay, I can code. So I can code something using internet. And he started typing and built this company called Zip2. Zip2 was later acquired by another company, by Compaq. And then with the money, he built X.com, and then X.com turned into PayPal. And with that money, became Tesla and everything.
Yeah.
I call that building a leverage.
Okay.
If you want to do something very large and you want to build yourself $1 million, mostly it's going to be because you have some kind of leverage with you. Okay. And when you start with what you have today, skills, the opportunity around you, the network around you, the people around you, and the industry that is now on the upward trend, it's more likely that you will build some kind of leverage very quickly. You will add up some money, you will add up some credibility to yourself as a person, and you will add up some 15, 20, maybe 50 people who now know you for the good work that you do. Mm-hmm. Once you have that, all of a sudden your leverage changes. These 50 people also have some different industry experience. They have network, they have people, and they have ideas in their own mind also. You will realize that 6 months down the line, a year down the line, some of them will start bumping those ideas at you and say, hey, I'm thinking about that. And I think you're the right kind of guy who can be part of the team. Do you want to do this together? Then these things start up, multiplying into very, very large things. And eventually you'll be able to make a very big dent. Yeah. That's how I have seen things happening. Okay. That's a kind of process. Exceptions are always there. I mean, people throw at me very different ideas like, but that's 1 in a million kind of thing. Yeah. And that's a pure luck. Do you really want to build your fortune around something which is absolutely not in your control? Well, good luck.
Yeah. You have an amazing mindset, the way that you're talking through this. And I go back to, you were in a class, in a business that, we're going to buy this business. So I want to talk about growing up. In you were born in a small village in India. So, and now you're globally known and doing all of this. Were there learnings coming up from, and I grew up in a small town in the States, and I think the population was 8,000 people. I always say I came from a town that had 3 traffic lights, and that was it. And one of those was a flashing light. But you learn lots of times in those small settings, you watch things, you learn from it. What were your learnings coming from in that small village?
I grew up in a small village about 30 kilometers from Delhi. So I was born in Delhi, but it's the rural part of the Delhi. I was the first person in my entire relations, like my uncles and aunts and everybody, who completed 10th standard education. Before me, there was no one who was 10th standard qualified, the high school qualified. Yeah. And I was 1 year when I went to my maternal uncle, and it was a government school which we had to walk 3 kilometers to reach. And the medium of instruction in that school was Hindi. But when I came to Delhi after completed my 10th, I got the admission into school here, and the school was in complete English medium. I was not able to speak Hindi. This was a local dialect that is spoken in my native village. And when you come to a city like Delhi, sit in a class, at least you're supposed to speak proper Hindi, which is the major language that we have. I could not speak that. I would try to open up my mouth, and my native, very strong dialect would come. I mean, we have a lot of languages here in India, and it's very complicated. And that would be very embarrassing. That's a kind of world that I came from. The good things that, however, happened. A lot of people tell me when I talk to them, oh, well, you grew great in your life in spite of all those challenges. And I say, not in spite of those challenges. I think it's because of those. So my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, she taught me hard work. So she kept me busy every day from 5 o'clock till night in the field, taking care of the cattle that we had, working on odd jobs. And I would ask her a question sometimes that, okay, I'm not going to use it for the rest of my life, right? You know it. I'm going to go back to Delhi. I'm going to go do something there. That's my world. And her logic was always that, okay, it's always best to learn something in your life and then don't do it. You never know, you might need it somewhere. And that was like a big thing I never understood, of course.
Yeah.
So I think it was that one thing which you keep working, never stop, never settle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important learning that I've had. I always give this example of an ant to every young person, that you've never seen an ant which is standing still. I mean, try to recall your memory. An ant you've never seen standing still. It keeps on moving. And my favorite game as a child was that I would try to block the path of an ant, right? I would put some obstacle and she would try to turn left, and then I would block it from left and she'd go right. I would put a rock, it would go off it, under it, but it would never stop. And I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. So I think what I've done in my life is I have fallen, of course, many times.
But you're the ant.
I'm the ant. I'm a very glorious ant. It's like what I'm not going to do is to stop, right? I will keep learning. I will keep trying. And over a long period of time, when you look back the journey of people, that's where you see the progress. But if you go really zoom in into their journeys, there are ups and downs. There are moments of despair. There are moments of they're feeling completely hopeless. But they're not understanding in that very moment. I think these two learnings in my life have really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a key point you talk about, because one of the reasons that we started this show is that because people see the top of the pyramid, they see Sam as a global entrepreneur, investor, and all these things, but they don't understand the underpinnings as to how Sam climbed the ladder. Sometimes the ladder broke, and you were able to put it back together and climb up with a vine or whatever it is to keep moving up. In other words, I see an obstacle, I'm going to become the ant. I'm going to try and figure out a way to get around it.
Absolutely. And I really admire your work. And that's the reason when we spoke on Facebook, I was very happy to jump on board right away that, okay, I'm going to do this because I watched it. I think it can also be once again simplified to the same very fact. You see, it's always going to come back to the point that what you have at the moment at your disposal, right? If you've fallen, let's say, right? You've tried and you've fallen, you've broken the ladder and everything. People keep on looking at that broken ladder far too long. And they, in their mind, keep on thinking, I wish that could have been the situation. I hope I was that, and I wish that was that, and things like that. So half of the time they are looking into this future, which might have been the case. And rest of the half of the time they're looking back, oh, I come from this great background. I had this earlier. Now nobody is there. I don't have friends. I don't have business. And that's a completely useless way of thinking, because the past is gone. You don't have it at the moment with you. And if you keep looking into the future, that future is never going to be built. What I think I have been able to learn, and I apply that every day, and it keeps me at peace also, that I always just look at myself. Look, ladder's broken, people gone, business shut. Okay, great. Let that reality sink in. Now, what do I have? And I look around and I say, I have this network that I have, let's say, and I know a bunch of things about sales, and I know a bunch of things about some industries. What can I do? Well, I can sell. Let's start making the pitch. Let's start making the call. Two things happen when you do that. One is when you make a small progress, a step forward, your brain gets a signal that you're moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with action, the brain releases the happy hormones and positive hormones. You feel happy, you feel confident. It's not the other way around. People wait for motivation and they think that, okay, I'll get motivation first and then I'll take action. It's actually the other way around.
Yeah.
You take some action and the brain doesn't differentiate between a small or large action. It is absolutely blind to the scale of the action. It's like, okay, I'm just taking a run today. I'm doing 20 push-ups. That's it. It's a progress for brain. So you feel motivated, you feel enthusiastic, and you feel happy. Mm-hmm. The one thing is this, and the second thing it happens, you've moved an inch out from where you were yesterday. And that, my friend, is progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like, okay, combine those inches over a 6 months period of time.
Yeah.
Boy, I've moved a mile ahead. Yeah. And you're just like, without even people realize, you're back in the game and you're back in the business and you're back once again a successful guy. Mm-hmm. And you feel like, wow, that was good.
Yeah, that kind of connects with from my side because, sometimes you're in the bed, you're thinking, I always said if a ceiling could talk, because you see what you're struggling with, the turnovers, and can't sleep. But I find from my side, and I think everyone has to figure this out. I get up, make myself get up, get to my computer, get a cup of coffee, and I start on something, regardless of how small it is. Because when I start on it, the energy exactly what you just said. The energy tends to start coming in. And an hour in, I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing all these things. Whereas when I was getting up and I'm like, oh God, I got to do this, that, and the other. But that one step. My mother's favorite saying was the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one small step.
Absolutely everything. And she was so right.
She was so right. Yes. Is your grandmother still alive?
My maternal grandmother is. I, in fact, yesterday visited her. Now she's 87, I guess.
Okay.
She was missing me a lot, so I just drove to her yesterday without even thinking about the work and everything. Okay. And boy, I'm so happy.
I'm sure that was inspirational too.
It was.
Yes.
It reminds me of all those things. You see, I think what people make a mistake is when they look back in the history, they try to recollect the good things that they had. I try to recollect the processes that I had. I try to recollect what were the things that I am still using, which are part of my psyche, which are part of my thinking, which are part of my how I process information. If you try and look back those things, and if you try to recollect them, they kind of become very obvious and intuitive to you. And then I don't take like 5 seconds when I'm sad. Being sad, I don't take even 5 seconds, because immediately these 3 questions come in. Okay, that is done. Let's accept it. What I can do now? What do I have? And in 5 seconds, I'm off to doing something, as you said. Okay. Type something, take a walk, or talk to somebody, and you're out of that game.
And, I think of this advice that you're giving young entrepreneurs who could be stressed out, don't see a way out, and a pep talk sometimes can reinvigorate a person, specifically younger people, because I think the internet has kind of skewed everything, because you see so-called successes and you think it's that easy, but it has nothing to do with reality.
Absolutely. And that's very dangerous, Ron, I must tell you. And I don't know how we're going to get over with this. But if you look at the algorithm of all the social media platforms, it's based and built on the principle of likeness.
Yes.
Right? If the algorithm thinks that you're supposed to like or most likely to like something, they'll flood you more with that information. Over a period of time, what is happening is that you're listening more to what you believe. And that is kind of, this is why we have this polarity in the world today. So the left is becoming more left, the right is becoming more right. But the progress happens when 2 very different ideas collide, right? When 2 people who disagree with each other, they collide. And now they have one extra idea, each of them. What also must be understood is that what we see on social media, please understand that's a curated list of the things. I mean, nobody shares a post of they waking up every day because it's very regular and boring, right? But
Yes.
when we go to a restaurant, we achieve something as an honor or we made a milestone,
Yes.
then we celebrate it. So when you scroll through somebody's feed, you know this is very curated life. But that's an outcome, right? An award is an outcome. I buying a car is an outcome. I taking a trip is an outcome. I could afford that because there was something which was happening for a very long time
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
What we need to tell young people is that the input is what you got to be focusing upon. And I like all these stories when people talk about. I have reduced this amount of content that I'm putting on social media for past 2.5 years because I'm busy more working on the businesses that I have. But I used to talk about this part of the journey very, very much. And I always tell people that, look, you got to be documenting your life. These not yet stories, these in the making stories need to be promoted more rather than the events of successes,
Yes.
because that's how you become successful. If you want to be valuable to
Yeah.
somebody, you tell them how I'm building something, not, hey, I built this, come and congratulate me. That's like, it's too late. What I'm going to learn out of your success, man,
Yeah.
it's already done.
What was the most important leadership lesson you've learned? So you talked about your grandmother, the influences she had, but from the business side, was it a failure, or was it a mentor, or someone, or it was a complete failure, and you had to pick up and start over again?
I had a couple of failures, and I think those things taught me a lot of things. And the most important thing that I've learned about, I'm a like kind of an emotional person. I like people. I like to work with people, and I like to add a lot of value and contribute. And every business, as you talk about, they stress upon the point that the most important ingredient of a business is it's people. So it's very natural also. But I've learned in my life that people change. Like somebody can be very, very good at something today, and you may think, okay, they're going to be moving for the leadership role, and you work with them and you give
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
all the things. uh, 2 years down the line, something may change in their life, their own priorities, maybe something in their family, maybe their friends or something, and this person is no longer the same person. What we end up doing is we stop liking them, or we start kind of disliking them.
Yeah.
Oh, because you're not the same person, you're not respecting me anymore, and that like kind of stuff. So I've learned to be neutral with the fact and accept it from the beginning that, okay, when you work with people, they will change, they do change, and that's absolutely all right. From the business standpoint, it allows me to always have a backup or a preparation that, okay, if this person is not there or they try to do something, how my business is going to survive, what I'm going to do for it. If the person stays, the backup is going to add up and we're going to grow faster, obviously. But if the person is not, then my business should have that backup. So that's like one understanding about people management that I want to share with everybody who's listening, that while we say people make businesses, and it's absolutely correct,
Yeah.
true, this is what it is. But yes, you should be, as an entrepreneur, as a leader of the business, you should understand that people will change,
Yeah.
you will change, and it's always good to have a backup plan for all of those things. I think that's top of the mind as a learning through my journey.
Okay. So that's adaptability. To go back to the ant. I love the metaphor of the ant. The roadblock comes, the deal didn't go through. Step back. What do I do now? The depression could come in. I have to start working on something to try and either go to the left or right, or go under, or whatever it is. Is that kind of a message that you coach young entrepreneurs into a mindset?
Absolutely, yes. And with that, how to use that, that is a kind of thing that I always try to talk. Look, you can have this mindset. Now you can always picture, I've given this metaphor of an ant, and you can always picture it, you will never remember, never forget it. But how do you use that mentality every day? I mean, when you are failing, let's say a deal is gone wrong, or you failed, then definitely you will use this metaphor and come back and fight. But how do you avoid those situations? How do you prepare for it? How do you act proactively for a technological change or something? So using that mentality in a day-to-day life, that is very critical and important. And how I've been able to learn and teach others also is that it is your job to go out proactively onto the internet and learn about the industries which are not your industries.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm in a sales and marketing industry, for example. This is my business. I don't have a technology company, for example. That's not my industry. But if something is happening in the technology, some technology is being built somewhere in the United States, and this is going to spiral over a period of time into something large, and then this is going to hit my industry big time. I don't want to be caught unaware of that. And the latest example is AI. Uh, it has hit the marketing, sales in every industry very strongly now. The content writers, graphic writers, everybody is almost out of the job.
Yeah.
And if I was not prepared for this, I would have been doomed big time right now.
Yeah.
So, using that metaphor of an ant every day, there are two things that people need to learn. One is to keep on looking for other industries that are not in your core and keep learning what are the latest trends happening in those industries. Just by talking to some people and reading a couple of articles here and there, some of the news, and you have to go proactively go. It doesn't come to your mailbox. Like, you have to go and search for those industries. It keeps you prepared. Like, you can have some dots in your mind that you can connect. Okay, this is happening right now. In next 2-3 years, this is gonna come this way, and I might as well start something at a very small scale in my own industry, my own company, so that I'm relatively ready. That's one. Second is, you need to learn about the other parts of the jobs that is there in your business. So if my job is, let's say, I'm a chief marketing officer and my job is to do better marketing. So I can be using AI and everything to do better marketing. That's very obvious. But I also need to learn more about how the product is being built in my company. So product guys, their job, the engineers, their job, the finance guys, their job, and everything. It helps me become friends with them and connect with them better and work more efficiently. But it also helps me give them something which they don't see it yet, but will be finding extremely useful. I can tell them that, look, this is how the finance industry and the financial tools are shaping up. And these are a couple of articles. You might go and check and look. And if they do that, they become better. And then they come back and they're like, wow, Sam, thank you. That was a good thing. Yeah. So the ant mentality in your job every day, if you keep learning the new things, which are in the larger industries, the economies, and at a micro level in your own job, your own company, every single day, that I think keeps you ready when things hit big time.
Yeah.
And if you are like 15 people in your company, and you may not be the best out of them when that calamity hits, you'll still be one of those 5 who survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned the learning journey. You know, one of the questions I ask people sometimes, I said, so what are you reading? What are you reading as it relates? Yes.
I'm reading a bunch of stuff.
What are you reading? You know, and I travel a lot, but every time I get on a flight, I've got a reading list.
Oh yes.
I don't really do the videos and the movies. I use that time to read because I can't get email. Well, I can. They're spotty, but I take that time to read. I always have my marker, and I'm making notes on that. That's kind of.
At the moment, I'm reading. I read 2 kind of stuff. When you're younger, you gotta be reading different stuff, obviously. But at my age, I'm 40 right now. I'm reading 2 kind of thing. I'm reading about the technologies. So there are like 5-7 books that I bought on metaverse, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. And I'm reading classical stuff, right? For example, I'm reading the fundamentals of blockchain, not the crypto and all that.
Yeah.
Because once I understand the fundamentals of any technology, I can differentiate the signal from the noise. There's a lot happening in crypto, but I know, okay, I may not be investing in this crypto or that crypto token, but I know the technology blockchain as a technology is pretty solid. And if I can stay invested in, this is going to be a long thing. So this is like around technologies. And the second thing that I'm reading is about more around spirituality nowadays. Okay. How to keep myself healthy, fit, peaceful at mind, and so that I'm able to take better decisions. And I think it's important at this age when you have so much coming at you. You are leading a couple of companies. There is so much social media following. uh, the quality of decisions that you make impact a lot of people in your companies and the communities that you're working. As a CEO, if I take a decision, okay, let's do this, then everybody is going to follow. And if I'm wrong, let's say 6 months, 1 year down the line, that's very dangerous. In order to keep those decisions very smartly, I got to be keeping myself calm, at peace, so that I can make probably one decision a day, but that's got to be really high quality. For young people who are entrepreneurs and building stuff, I rather suggest them to read hardcore skills. What I mean by that is, if you're a techie, if you're a product guy, read sales and marketing. If you are a marketing and sales guy, read technology, learn a bit of coding, learn a bit of financial management. Because when you build a company, you've got to be working with all sort of people. Now, you may not be coding yourself for a very long time, but you've got to be talking to the people who code. And you've got to be understanding their world, their language, and communicate them in their language. Otherwise, they're going to listen to you, go to the bathroom and say, he's an idiot, he doesn't understand anything, and they're not going to do anything anyways. So it's your thing that is important. I'm not a techie by background, but I reach a bunch of stuff around it, so I know enough about their job and make them create a good product or write a solid code.
Okay, cool. As we begin to close out, one of the goals that I mentioned earlier of the show is to bring together, engaging leaders like yourself to discuss, their career journey. And today you really brought it out and being a guest. Any last minute thoughts you'd like to leave the audience? Before we do that, let me just acknowledge some of our frequent listeners. John Self, who's a career consultant, executive coach based in Texas, and Tamur, who's located in Pakistan, says hello. So I just wanted to acknowledge those people. But as we begin to close out, any last minute thoughts you'd like to leave our audience?
There are a couple of, actually, in fact, two very precise. One, this is a very exciting time to be alive, honestly speaking. When I look out for jobs in the early part of my career, it was a very, very mess. Now everything is right in your right palm. You can type and find it. Irrespective of what you have been doing so far, irrespective of your age, you can be 45, 50. If you have not been liking what you're doing, today, building a career around a passion and making money also is absolutely possible. Those 40-year careers are gone. You really don't need that. You absolutely can quit, find a bunch of guys, and do really, really what you want to. Make good money around it and be very, very happy. So jump the ship, I would say. You're a working professional, you're an entrepreneur, whoever you are, just take that shot and you will never regret in your life. Trust me on that. That's like one very, very important thing that I would like to give as a message to people. The second thing is, knowledge has never been more important than it is today. People say it's a commodity, yes, because it's available on Google and everywhere else. You can just type in and find it. But it is more important for you for the fact that the world is changing extremely fast. What you knew 1 year back is not that relevant anymore. And if you're not learning very, very quickly about new things, just like a kid would do, right? Then you will be outdated. And your past successes will not come in handy. If you are a fan of learning, that's a boon, right? You'll be very happy. Guy like me are very, very happy because I keep on learning and want to learn new things. But if you've not been a learner, that's a kind of hard thing to do. But you got to do that if you want to be relevant today. These are my two things that I want people to remember out of this conversation.
Oh, man. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for making an effort to be on the show. We really appreciate it. We do a rebroadcast on Wednesday. We'll send you a note ahead of time, so maybe you can tweet it out to your followers because you've got a massive follow. Matter of fact, folks, follow Sam because he posts interesting stuff. He posts interesting stories, and that's how we met. So thank you so much, man. I'll be in touch.
It's a pleasure, Ron, and I wish you all the very best. In fact, God bless you. You're doing a good work. There are things that we do to make money. There are things that we do just to give back. And I know this is one of those things that you're doing. It's important for the world to bring out these kind of stories. And I'm sure there are lives that are changing over there. Thank you very much for reaching out, giving me this space, hosting me here. It really means a lot. I wish to do a lot more things together.
Okay, man. Thank you. Thank you. Stay in touch. Okay.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.